ladies and gentlemen, to the RDFL Footy Show for another week. Thanks to Melton Toyota. Great to have your company once again this week on the RDFL Footy Show. Preliminary final week. We're just about there for the big one. We know that we do have a team through to the grand final already. That would be Diggers Rest, who are aiming in their fourth try for their first Division 1 premiership. It's been, I think, 1991. They won a Division 2 premiership, but obviously looking for their first major senior premiership in the RDFL. And of course, this week, preliminary finals to decide who will take on Diggers Rest in that game as well. Sean Kelly's my name. Joining me as always, my co-host, Chris Yeendy. Big week, mate. It's been a big one.
Certainly been a big week. Big stretch this time of year. Everyone's working really hard behind the scenes and putting together an outstanding product. And yeah, we saw 6 games of footy on the weekend, and I think I'm all analysed out at the moment. So
take a breath and just get your bearings together before what's going to be a pretty big preliminary final weekend for you.
Mate, I did a fair bit of handballing on the weekend, so Gav got a fair bit of work under his belt there, which is always appreciated. So it's all shaping up pretty well, and we're looking forward to a really big prelim at Lansfield this weekend.
Yeah, it should be indeed. But before we get there, there's been a little bit happening in the past week, including this past Wednesday night at the Lakeside Banquet and Convention Centre. Over 300 people in attendance to toast the 2016 Bowen Medallist Brent Swallow from the Rupertswood Football Club. A fantastic season capped off with a win in the RDFL's highest honour. We caught up with him, more specifically, our man Chris Yeendy caught up with the Bowen Medalist on the night after the announcement. Let's have a look at Yeendy.
We're here with the 2016 RDFNL Bowen Medalist Rupertswood Brent Swallow. Congratulations, mate. A nice win and a hard-stopping count.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers. How have you enjoyed the year at the Sharks?
Yeah, not too bad. Plenty to build on. A bit disappointing that we lost in the final, but what can you do?
What was the sort of feeling after that first final loss a couple of weeks ago?
I think everyone was disappointed. It's sort of 3 years in a row. Something's got to change, so I think we've got the right blokes to turn it around and see how we go next year.
And how do you enjoy your time in the midfield this year around a good team?
Yeah, love it. Hate pre-season, but yeah. Yeah, it's good, yeah. Love it. So,
what's Fitzy been like as a coach?
Grouse. He's taught me so much and taught all the young boys so much, so honestly I don't think you can get a better coach for where we're at the moment. So,
especially to work with young kids coming through.
Yeah, well that's right. The under 18 picked up the leagues, Jai Mitchell, so I think we're poised in years to come, to be honest.
Tell us a little bit about your footy background, mate, where you started playing footy and what got you into it.
Well, I started at Craigieburn and just sort of started at Auskick, hated Auskick, so played under 9s when I could. Since then, moved to Rupo when I was about 10, and played at Rupo since then. So, yeah.
Can't get enough of the place.
Oh, yeah, you can say that, I guess.
Now, tell us a little bit about the experience of what it was like being on the recruit. You had to do a lot of trials back in 2014.
We did one day. It was just a day of trials, really. And sort of just got an email to say if you were a yes or no, and fortunately I got a yes, and then I got kicked out straight away. So
did you learn a little bit about the experience?
Oh, not a great deal. He didn't really deal with the personnel and all that, so you sort of just got told you were too short, couldn't kick a footy, so
geez, and a bloke who's been told that is actually one of league best and fairest now, so that worked pretty well.
Worked all right, didn't it? So can't complain.
You've won the medal now, mate. What does it mean to you now as a sort of settling in?
Oh, it's just a stepping stone, I think. I'm only 24 and trying to help the young boys through now and win that first elusive final and see where we go from that, I think. So, see how we go.
Well, you've still got the under-18s who are still in it to have a crack, and the girls are in there with their netball as well. It's certainly an exciting time around the club around this time of year.
Yeah, that's right. Look, unfortunately, the reserves and seniors went out, but yeah, we still get around and help out where we can. Real club environment, so yeah, look, I hope they bring it home for us, honestly.
Well, you've still got 2 league best and fairest in the one club. It's pretty special.
That's right. Can't complain with that, can you?
Congratulations, mate. We're really excited for you, and all the best for the future.
Beautiful. Thank you.
The 2016 Bowen Medalist with Yeendy. Very, very humble man, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is, and that's just the way he goes about it as well. Did end up winning in a thrilling vote count as well.
Was.
Had everyone on the edge of their seat right to the last few rounds.
It was indeed. Grant McMillan, just those nice pauses at the right times to get the votes up and going. Well done to Brent Swallow, and well done to all the winners on Bowen and Ryan Medal Night. They're all on the RDFL website, and they'll be in the records over the coming weeks as well. Talking point number 2, before we have a look at this week's games, of course, Melton Toyota, our fantastic friends, once again doing a fantastic job in supporting the RDFL this year. We're heading back out to Melton Toyota. The great man wanted to give another discount, another fantastic car special to the RDFL fraternity. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the second time during the final series, it's Brian McNabb and Nabby's Car of the Week.
Here we are at Melton Toyota once again, ladies and gentlemen, for another segment of Nabby's Car of the Week on the RDFL Footy Show. And joining us is the great man, Brian McNabb, joining us once again. Nab, how are you today, mate?
Very good, Sean. Yourself?
Very, very well, mate. Now, before we start this, need to talk about your footy tipping, because last time we were here, you were tipping the college, Rupertswood, to go all the way this year in the final series. Knocked out in the first week. How well are you going?
Well, you've been wrong before, and I've been wrong again.
I haven't been wrong all that often, mate.
But no, I was wrong. I just actually thought they may have delivered a bit stronger than what they were actually shown on that particular day.
And the team that beat them on that day, Riddle, going very nicely at the moment as well, and probably going into favouritism to play in a grand final spot at the moment.
You would think so, just on previous form, and also the way the injuries to Broadfoot and a few other things happening there that obviously makes it difficult with certain players. And so a bit disappointing for them, because I think it was 13 in a row they were on a roll. But anything can happen, as we know.
That's certainly right, and obviously the rumour mill in overdrive at this time of year, as it always is. Melton Central's your club. A few whispers we're hearing about coaches. Anything you want to let us know?
In short, no. In long, no. But when it does happen, I'll certainly be telling everyone what's going on. Paul, obviously the President's got everything at hand there at the moment, and we'd be very, very surprised with the quality that's coming through. It's very encouraging, actually.
Spoken like a true car salesman, Nabby. So as such, let's get back onto your main purpose in life, selling cars. Nabby's Car of the Week. What have you got for us this week?
Okay, we're going to talk about new.
New, I like it.
A new car, meaning a Corolla Ascent Sport, basically one with the lot.
Basically, this little baby here sitting behind us.
Simple terms, it's a 27,500 car, 27,500. Anyone from the RDFL, clubs, executive, spectators, whoever, will sell you that particular car for $23,990.
So just dropping 3.5 off.
Oh, well, it's not my money, as you know, Sean.
Correct.
So it's very easy done. It doesn't come out of my pocket. Grant and Ray, they're the generous ones. And also what we will include for an exclusive offer is a 6-year warranty free of charge.
That's fantastic. What normal warranty on those, about 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3 years, 100,000 Ks. Let's go 6 years up to 175,000 Ks. The sports, cruise, reverse camera, alloys, fog lamps, coloured windows. Yeah, the list goes on. Great car, very well priced. Finance is available through Toyota Finance here, which is always very handy. And anyone associated in any way with the RDFL, meaning clubs, executives, like I said, whoever it may be, there's a 6-year warranty to hang off the car as well. And also to remember, for 3 years your service Advantage plan is $140 per service.
No questions asked. 140 straight in, no matter what needs to be done.
Correct, exactly right. Very good car, colour choice as well.
And of course, RDFL fans very running out of time at the moment to get $250 back to their club, so no better time to do that than to buy Nabby's Car of the Week.
Well, we're in the home straight, and selfish reasons, famous words, you ask for Nabby, things do happen in probably not the right way sometimes, but we still sell plenty of cars.
We do indeed, mate. Thanks for joining us this week. Looking forward to seeing you out and about during the week. Obviously, you were at the Bowen Medal earlier this week, and you'll be at the grand final next week as well, so definitely showing the face around the RDFL.
Yeah, well, I reckon it's been a great year for everyone concerned. Obviously, Central's disappointing, but the sides obviously have put it together quite well, and, whoever the two may sides be, namely Diggers and whoever else, probably will end up being the two best sides for the, situation to be in. Conditions, obviously, as you can see today, it's just leading up to a perfect final series, so we wish all the remaining clubs, including the reserves and 18s and everyone else, all the best for the coming week.
Wise words from a wise man. Nabby's car of the week once again. We've got one more in the bank, and I know he's cooking up something special for grand final week for us. So we'll go back to the studio now, and we'll be back next week with more Nabby's car of the week, grand final style.
Nabby's car of the week. The great man is up and about at this time of year. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And of course, we thank Melton Toyota for their fantastic support of the RDFL competition once again during season 2016.
Yeah, he's up and about, mate. This is his exciting time of year, and he loves the finals almost as much as we do. And that's saying something.
It does indeed. Talking point number 3, of course, looking back at the semi-finals from last weekend. Firstly, on Saturday at Rockbank Diggers Rest, as we mentioned off the top, moving in to their 4th consecutive grand final with a pretty comprehensive win in the end over Broadford.
Yeah, very tight game in the first half. As we discussed on the airwaves, Broadford played the game on their terms, so it was really good, hard, physical contest. They led it by as much as 14 points in the second term before the Burrows took the lead, and they were never really headed. They ended up kicking the final 10 goals of the game, at which point Lance Piccioni and Justin Piccioni, he was gone, and Webb, he was yellow red carded, so there was late in the game as well. So there was a couple of reports there that'll take care of themselves in due course.
Yes.
But so certainly a few big losses there, but the Burrows, they were just too strong. Jason Williams, he was up and about.
He's been good in the final so far.
He certainly has been, but the player that we were impressed with the most, who stepped it up in his second semi-final, Tom Gleeson, across half-back. He got the bottle of wine last year in the second semi-final. He got the bottle of wine this year in the second semi-final, but he was just instrumental. And we had Gerard Dixon on the Sunbury Kangaroos coach. One of the things he was really impressed about is with these awards, I mean, they are a token of how we perceive it, but it goes to show when the big games are there to be won, he is the man that stands up. And he was clearly outstanding across half-back, caused plenty of headaches. And heartache for Broadford because they ended up losing James Philpott to a foot injury very early on in the piece, and unfortunately that's his season done.
Yeah,
that will give him headaches when we discuss the next game.
Will indeed, because they're into a preliminary final. The good thing about Broadford is they had the bad day. They live to fight another week. They're going to take on a team that has got some momentum going in the Riddle Bombers. They flew up on the weekend. They took on the injury-depleted Cats. And unfortunately for the Cats, after finishing in second spot, it was a straight sets exit for them. And Riddle seem to hit their straps at this time of the year. They're into yet another preliminary final.
Definitely right. I guess a heartbreak for the Cats, really. I know they've only won one final since they come out of recess, and that was against Diggers Rest. So that's quite interesting in that department there. But I think that the crowd almost really wanted them to get over the line because we know how successful the Bombers are. It was sort of a heartbreaking loss in a sense. Dan Markworth, Casey Summerfield, Jason Cook, they all played out of their socks. But the Bombers, they just experience at this time of year. It's just incredible. They were able to hold on and work really well, and the Stars held up when they needed to. Hayden Ross was absolutely outstanding. Scotty Welsh was great through the midfield, so a lot of positive talking points there from the Bombers. And they were challenged by the Cats, but I think as a footy fan, as a footy enthusiast, I'd rather end the finals right there because we had that one that went down to the wire. We've got 6 more games of footy to go across under-18s, reserves and seniors. That one is going to take some topping because the emotion behind that result was phenomenal, and the result, the 3-point win by the Bombers, we haven't seen anything like that in a while.
It certainly was. It was a great game and a great day for footy as well, and a great day for Yeendy to nearly blow his top on a Sunday afternoon as well. Time to look at preliminary final weekend in the RDFL, Yeendy, and we'll start it with the under-18 and a halves. A quick synopsis on what's going to happen in that game. Woodend Heskett once again in another preliminary final.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Same ground they won their way through to a grand final last year. They're taking on Diggers Rest. The Hawks are coming off a 17-goal defeat at the hands of Rupertswood, who are all class. The Burrows played some great footy to beat Macedon. They've only faced once this year, the two sides, and the Burrows got over them in the last quarter. So that was a good contest there. But I reckon Diggers Rest, based on form, they will go into this one as favourites, and the Hawks, they've got a few injuries as well. So the Burrows will be going in full of great form.
The reserves, the Sunbury Kangaroos, once again could win their way through to another grand final. They stand up at this time of year in the reserves, but could be a tough ask for them this week.
Definitely could be because they too are coming off a massive loss at the hands of Diggers Rest. It seems to be a common theme that's kicking around at the moment.
Yes.
The Bombers have It'd be the surprise package of the competition.
Yep. Riddle, of course, we're speaking about, who Sunbury Kangaroos are playing this week.
Yep.
I forgot to mention that off the top. So
they are a surprise pack of the competition across all three grades because they just snuck into 6th position. I think they lost the first 4 or 5 games of the season, went on a 5-game winning streak, and all of a sudden they're into a prelim. They're in 6th position. They knocked off Rupo and Macedon, so third and second spot in consecutive weeks. They'll be targeting the Sunbury Kangaroos and finish in 4th spot. I think the Bombers will go in probably with a little bit more confidence and momentum than the Sunbury Kangaroos, who missed Garth Blue, but at the end of the day, Garth Blue doesn't make up for a 14-goal defeat.
He doesn't indeed. And then, of course, the big one, the preliminary final in the seniors, Broadford taking on Riddle. Sounds like a finals match from many years ago, of course. It was Broadford Romsey in the preliminary final last year. Broadford taking on Riddle in a prelim this year. And this strikes me a lot set up like Riddle's game last week as well. They're taking on a team that have lost a few. Obviously, as you mentioned, James Philpott out. We don't know what's happening at the tribunal yet, but that could sort a couple out during the week as well. Whereas Riddle, the momentum they get at this time of the year, they are just flying. I'm not going to sit here and say Riddle aren't going to play in a grand final, but I'll tell you what, this will be a really good game.
It certainly will be a cracking game. These two teams faced off in the first semi-final last year, and Broadford just did what they had to do to get over the line in a remarkable performance. Wasn't the most attractive game as well, but here they are playing at Lansfield Park, and it's going to be an absolute belter. I think the Bombers just they had the win that they needed to have last week against Macedon. When the team that just kept coming and coming, they back their confidence, back their defensive structures, and back their players up forward to get the job done. I had a chat to Hayden Ross after the game.
Yep.
Imagine what it's like when you've got James Nolan and Brian Ruffle firing. We know Ben Said can kick goals. Nolan and Said kicked 5 goals between them. Ruffle, I think he only kicked 1. So you get Brian Ruffle kicking a couple, you have all 3 of them firing, then look out. They're very, very hard to beat, whereas it's Romanic down the other end for Broadford. It's the only one that can really trouble the scorers. Obviously, Romain Greenville is absolutely outstanding, but he pushes up the midfield, and he's a good goal-kicking midfield, but they just lack those targets. You take Phil Pott out of the ruck, Svark will come back in. Svark doesn't have near the impact that Phil Pott has, while for the Bombers, Braden Allen has been in phenomenal form in the ruck and probably the second or third best ruckman in the competition. So he'll become the number 1 ruckman in the game and against a strong midfield at his feet.
If you're Sean Sims, who do you want to see in the next week of the finals? You'd want to see Broadford, wouldn't you?
I want to see Riddle. To be honest,
you're Sean Sims,
if I'm Sean Sims, I want to see Riddle. I want to see Riddle because I'm looking at almost like a fairy tale scenario here. So the team that the Boroughs have had so much problem with on grand final day has been the Bombers. They haven't been able to beat them. Yeah, exactly. Both of them. But the Bombers have been the ones that have been giving them the headaches. I think they've lost to them in 3 or 4 grand finals in the last decade or so. So if they're going to end the streak, they're going to do it against the enemy that has beaten them at every hurdle, even though the Boroughs have gone into a number of second semi-finals and gone through to the grand finals. And faced Riddle, who have had to go through the long way around. That would be the dream scenario. That would be the complete fill, I think.
Do you think that that's what's going to happen? It will be a Diggers Rest Riddle grand final?
I do think it'll happen, just based on what we saw last week, because when the game was still there to be won, Broadford's players, they kept their heads down, whereas when the Cats kept coming against the Bombers, the Bombers kept coming. So I think it's what's happening between the years, and that's in no disrespect to Broadford, because they've achieved so much this year. They've beaten every team between Diggers Rest. They lost the last 2 losses in the competition. Have been bookended by Diggers Rest loss. So it'd be fitting for them if they won, then end up beating Diggers in the grand final. 3rd time's a charm. Correct. But I think, as a footy enthusiast, if the Boroughs are going to win the premiership this year, it's going to be against a team that has been their biggest nemesis on grand final day.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see this week at preliminary final day at Lansfield Park. Get down there, but if you can't, Yeendy's on the radio, so get around him as well. Talk to us about what's happening on Highlands 100.7 this Saturday, please.
9:30 a.m. broadcasting all games, and we've got some great interviews coming through on the netball front as well. It's going to be an absolute perler. So
it will be indeed. Thanks to the unsuccessful attempt at putting us off our game in the background as well from the faceless man or woman behind the scenes there. Thank you for joining us this week on the Footy Show. Thank you. Try and keep some voice for next week, because we need you in full fettle for the grand final Footy Show. Thank you.
No, it's always a pleasure, and a big thanks again to Gav Spall for all his work he's been doing behind the scenes. Without him, we'd be in a bit of strife, and of course Dougie McIver too.
Yeah, good to hear all the boys up and about on Highlands FM at the moment. Thank you for joining us on the RDFNL Footy Show for another week. We'll see you next week for the biggest show of the year.